For more insights on the policy announced to boost China's property market, we want to bring back our guest, Mr. Zhang Ning from UBS. Mr. Zhang, how will the introduction of the supply land according to demand policy impact the real estate market?
Yes, sure. The central government now are urging local government to withdraw or even buy back the unused idle residential land to ease the developer financing condition. I think this kind of measure could help rebalance the housing market, narrow the gap between the supply and demand in the housing market, and also helpful in stabilizing the housing prices. But clearly, there are some new challenges here. The first one is that the land supply means land sales revenue for local governments, which means if for some high inventory pressure cities, their tax revenue and land sales revenue should decline. If with no much land supply, that will be a challenge for fiscal spending and even public investment. And the second one would be the limited new land supply means limited new supply for the home, which will be potentially a gap in maybe 2 or 3 years later of potential the lack of housing supply. That will be a challenge for future new balance of demand and supply, which will be also a challenge for housing prices.
Also, there will be challenges in other policy. What challenges will be faced in implementing the policy of repurchasing existing commercial housing as affordable housing in some cities? It sounds like brilliant ideas, but there will be challenges in the reality, right?
Yes, sure. Basically speaking, there are 3 challenges to address. The first one is where the money comes from. So far, the PBOC is offering the 300 billion special facility to support the public rental purchase program, etc. But clearly, the 300 billion is not large enough. According to our estimation, the overall need for such funding should be trillion or 2 trillion, etc., to fill all the gap. And I believe the PBOC needs to expand the facility size. And the second one is how low the cost could be. So far, the large cities' rental yield is still very low, 1.7% also. But the special facility lending ratio is around 1.75, adding some markup, etc. So the actual lending cost cannot be justified as a low yield. That's why either the purchase should enjoy a big discount of the market prices, or the PBOC needed to lower the lending rate with the help of the Ministry of Finance special subsidy, if any. And lastly, clearly, the local officials, they have some hesitancy in doing some big purchase because possibly there are some moral hazard issue or even there are a fear of a future accountability issue. That's why we need a top-down mechanism setting up to reduce the hesitancy and reduce the moral hazard risk.
Right. Okay. Lastly, let's talk about the question that you just mentioned. That's the local governments being allowed to purchase back idle lands from cash-strained developers. How significant is this move? You just mentioned changes, but it must mean a lot for the overall real estate market.
Yeah, sure. Clearly, so far, the problem is not about supply. It's about the demand. So the supply should be contained to rebalance the market. That's why the policy has been put there in the first place. And now the most important pressure here is about inventory. And the limited supply of land means limited supply for future inventory. And together with the ongoing measures to inventory purchase measures announced today, we believe the rebalance is very important in help stabilizing the housing price expectations. So far, clearly, the home purchase intention has been very weak, which means if you look at the first 4 months property sales volume already declined by 20% from 1 year ago, and there's too early to call a stabilization. So why it happens? It's just because of the housing price expectation has been still on the downtrend, and also the household expectation for income growth has been much weaker than before. Together with fading fundamental support like slowing urbanization and also slowing new births, new marriages, etc., all contributed to the weakening fundamental support for the housing market. So in the future, the housing price expectation the rebalance of the market, especially addressing the high inventory problem, and also together with additional support in releasing the upgrading and replacement demand, like renovation efforts, like building the high quality building in the future, could help rebalance the market eventually.
Thanks very much. I'd love to talk more about this, but time is almost up for our show. Mr. Zhang Ning, thanks very much for joining us.